Wondering, what was your first experience with track and field?
My first experience?
Yeah. How did you get interested?
Elementary school. We had a field day, and we ran around the schoolyard on relays, at a dash.
Chasing girls.
No, they were too fast for us. When you're that young, you don't try to compete with girls because they're faster than you are. So we stayed away from that. Anyway, that's where it started. And out of that, we got a relay team and went to the junior high relays that they had in town. And I got excited about...
And where was this? Trenton?
Trenton, New Jersey. And junior 3, junior 1, junior 2, junior 4, and then there was a black school. They were still segregated through junior high school and elementary school in those days. Wow. We found out later that they were good to have around because they were fast as hell and could be on a relay with them and win the damn thing. At any rate, that got me all excited about going to that relay meet and being in the meet. We had 8 guys. We ran 44 yards apiece, passed the baton, and on a 5th mile track. So that was it, and then finally they carried on from there and had the city championship where we went to the high school and ran a race in elementary, same thing. So we were getting exposed to it at the right age, and that did it, and been in it ever since. So.
Were you originally from Trenton or Philly?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's how I got into track, running away from Italian kids.
Noisy boy, huh?
Listen, what happened, this is a true story. Mussolini came to power and they were running around, El Duce, we kill you, you son of a bitch, you know, and so you took off running. But when they found out he was and this will be on there, a no good rotten prick, and they reversed. Next thing I knew, they were inviting you into the house for spaghetti and meatballs, wine in the fall. And
hanging Mussolini from the tree.
Yeah, yeah.
All that good stuff. Does that explain it?
That was a question I've been meaning to ask you.
Well, no, I want to ask how you got to Penn State.
How I got to Penn State. You didn't read the article. It was recently in what's it called? The Lion's Roar. It's Alumni.
Actually, I did. I want to get it on video.
I said I didn't want the job at Penn State, and I didn't. I wanted to stay at William Mary. Ended up there by pure chance anyway. I was in the Army 10 miles away. And they let me move off post, and I took an apartment across the street from sorority at William & Mary, and the floor was hell. Anyway, I ran into my future wife. She was playing field hockey. I knocked her down. I literally knocked her over the first time I met her. Picked her up and excused myself, went on and finished the run. And I worked out there all the time with their team, and one day the president of the college asked me if I wanted to take grad courses. I said, I can't get into your grad school. I had a 2.2 out of Temple. He said, you're in the Army, you're a lieutenant, you're in grad school if you want to go. So I went to grad school there and got straight A's. And while I was there, I got out of the service, finished up with an assistantship, and they asked me if I wanted to coach the track team. And that was the last thing I ever thought I'd ever do. And I said, you know, it sounds like a great idea because I had GI Bill and they were going to give me an assistantship to do that. I was making more money than I could have made anywhere else. Yeah. So I took over the track team and knew nothing about the field events. And I just explained to John Lucas this morning how that came out. I was in the stadium working on the field events in the summertime. And in walked this guy and he came over to me and I said, what's your name? And he told me he was the foremost stroke coach in the world, let alone in the country. He was down visiting Williamsburg and got bored with the historical stuff and decided to walk out to the field there to take a look. He spent an hour and a half with me. He taught me more about the shot and discus than I ever learned in my life. A guy named Fred Dutel from Rhode Island. That's why Rhode Island had Hammer before anybody else, because of him. Anyway, and I went on from there with the high jump and the pole vault, got all the field events, because you had to coach the whole team. You only had one coach. And no scholarships, just good students who just happened to have talent. They were loaded with talent and didn't even know it. And anyway, we started winning meets like crazy. Excuse me, I better answer this. I think it was me.
Coach's hotline.
I don't know who it is, but we'll find out.
Nice today.
They're still putting in us.
Nice time for a walk.
Yeah. Climb up mountain.
Any more questions?
We're back on.
Got any more questions?
Well, they wouldn't be related to track.
Oh, that's all right. Any questions?
I love you, Haley.
We got.
You talk about down and dirty. He invented it.
So who was the major coaching influences on you?
Well, before that, I was going to tell you, I didn't want to come to Penn State. William & Mary was just a great place. But the president had me out 3 nights a week fundraising with him. And that's a lot of drinking, a lot of rich women. I've been divorced in another 3 months if I stayed there. So the job at Penn State opened up. I applied for it actually to get away from all the females and the drinking. And I didn't want to be an administrator. That's the last thing. There's nothing lower than an administrator.
Had you ever been here before?
Tell me.
Had you ever been to Penn State before?
Don't get him started on that.
You took the job and you'd never been here.
Well, I came up here with my wife to visit the place, and she says, you're not going to be able to take the job unless there's mountains. Well, we came over to the mountain, we're up the top there looking down. She looked at the valley, says, you can take the job if you want it. So I go in, and Eric Walker, by the way, was the president.
Oh, yeah.
He wanted to make sure I didn't use the F word, because that's why they didn't hire a great guy named Norm Gordon. He was World War II, and
Yeah.
there we go.
That lasted all of about a week.
Lasted through the interview. When you walk in, Clark, and the president's sitting there, he says, take off your necktie, get that coat off, and get your feet up on the desk. What the heck are you going to say? So we sat and had a talk for the longest time, and he was sure I wouldn't indiscriminately use the F word. He offered me the job right on the spot. But the final thing was, he said, anything you want to ask me? And I said, yeah, Dr. Walker. I said, why didn't you offer that job to Norm Gordon Union? I said, all you had to do is call him in and say, straighten out your damn language or you're out of here. And he started crying in front of me, the president. I said, I'll never get this job. And before I left the place, he stopped me at the door. He said, I got to tell you, he said, I needed what you said to me. He said, this bothered me so much. It's about time somebody unloaded on me. So he offered me a job right on the spot.
He was also a starter.
Yeah, well, he was a finish judge.
Yeah, but also he was starting.
Oh yeah, he said they were out at the track all the time, so they were well aware of what they were. You know, the line Norm was pretty strong.
Yeah, he was out there all the time.
Oh yeah.
Eric Walker was always coming to our meetings.
Well, he was an official, that's why. Yeah. And he kept doing it until he retired. Next question.
Well, okay, here we go. If you had to pick the 5 most memorable moments here at Penn State track, what would they be?
You're going to get floored on this one, because I had to give a talk one time, and I was asked that question up in Syracuse for the Hall of Fame. When Kathy got in, Kathy Mills, I said, what's the most important thing you ever did related to coaching? And I said, I delivered my daughter. What do you mean you delivered your daughter? I said, the hospital was on strike. I go in, the doctor says, I'm exhausted, I've been up all night, you got to do it. So I delivered her. And how did it involve track? It was everything in track. Keep your head. Don't get excited. Don't grab onto the wrong thing. You know,
that's like sex, isn't it?
The great thing is, today we have a relationship that probably most fathers don't have with their daughters. Because she knows
that's great. I didn't
it's
know
really a great thing.
Yeah.
And I think more fathers should be that involved, but I don't think the hospitals would let you. I don't think the wives would want it either. But we didn't have a choice. Either the nurses were on strike, and was in there, the poor guy was up all night, he was like exhausted.
How old is she now?
So she's 27, she's getting married the end of June.
Time flies.
In town. I'm glad she's getting married, but it's going to cost a living hell.
It's only going up.
Well, you only do it once, right? Well,
hopefully.
Some of us anyhow.
As far as actually on the track, Clark, I'll try to think of something there, but probably the most exciting stuff has to be the Penn relay stuff. It always is. And one of the reasons is you lay it on the line against the best there is. And if you come out halfway, like the times we won those 4x8s, it was so damn lucky. People don't understand. It's not talent. It's just being in the right place.
Circumstances.
Everything works. Because each one was different. But probably one of them with Mark Anderson. You know, Mark's best 800 was 157. I'm going to put him on a relay team with 147, 148 guys. And the reason I put him on was that he was stronger than anybody else. He was killing guys, and remember everybody's doing the exercises and putting manual resistance? He would blow everybody away. So I took a long shot, put him on a relay, and I I get down, and all the little black kids in Philadelphia were grabbing me around the leg. All his relatives, and your Uncle Mark's coach, and all this stuff. And his mother and father coached in Philadelphia, so that was a big deal. And I knew the kid would be a nervous wreck, so I went down to the paddock and I told him, I said, Mark, it doesn't matter if you blow it, if you run lousy, Mom and Dad are going to love you for the rest of your life, and you don't have a thing to worry about. Just stay with that goddamn guy from Arkansas. So he stays with him, 149.
Oh,
Wow.
man.
I didn't know
For an
that.
improvement.
Wow.
See, just plain guesswork. I mean, I couldn't have pulled that off in a million years, and my talk with him had nothing to do with winning the race. It was just trying to make him comfortable. And so after we win the damn thing, you know, I'm jumping up and down like a crazy man with all those little black kids all the hell over. The great thing about that is we picked up 5 sprinters 5 years later.
That's good. That's good stuff. So there's a couple. Now you gotta have a couple more.
You know,
Well, what was some of the most embarrassing things? There we go.
oh boy, you
Now we're gonna get
well,
it.
Clark, now that you mention it, I'll tell you one of the great ones is when you anchored that relay down at George Mason, was it?
Yeah.
And he's running the mile leg on the relay, and I didn't really expect much, and I don't know what the hell got into you, but you ran about 4:05 and won the damn thing. I'm strutting around like I know what I'm doing. Just guessing.
You know, it's funny. He considers that one of his most embarrassing. Thanks, Coach.
It wasn't embarrassing. It was a happy time, you know. Yeah. Anything else, Clark?
What would you have done if you didn't get into coaching?
I was on my way to North Carolina, University of North Carolina, to major in exercise physics, getting my doctorate. And it would have been the mistake of my life, you know, having the PhD. See, I just talked to Lucas this morning. That block of time you spend getting that degree, you're away from the sport, you're away from athletes, and you're really losing what you need to know. And that's where I was out on that track with Fred Tutel and these other guys teaching me what the hell I had to know about coaching. By the time I ran into these guys, at least I knew a little bit. And they told me the rest of it. I told the story about the St. John's meet when you had to run the intermediate hurdles and 200 back-to-back. So we stalled like hell. We had the hurdle crew get lost. So the hurdles were on the track and they couldn't start the 200 to give him more rest. But St. John's got wind of what we were doing and their whole team went out and took the hurdles off. I remember you running the 200, you looked like death warmed over.
It felt like it too.
Yeah. But we got them the next year. We went up there and beat the heck out of them. That was a real piece of work, by the way. One thing I did want to point out, we had a staff at Penn State that were former football coaches. And all you had to do to them was show them you knew what you were doing. They'd back you all the way. Well, Ed Checkeye was the AD at the time. He insists that we take Mike Reed with us, even though Mike had a concert that night. And it was within NCAA rules. He gets a plane ticket for Mike to leave the team in New York and get him on a plane back here for a concert. So we won the meet, thanks to Ed, because we couldn't have won it without him. And St. John's was a real good rival, by the way. They had, you know, people had those scored meets. That's what they miss today. You've got to get back to scored meets or the sport's going to disintegrate.
I agree.
All
Yeah.
this time distance or height stuff is a lot of crap.
Yeah.
It really is.
That was what the next thing I was going to ask. What changes have you seen in the sport that are good and what are bad?
You got a bunch of young coaches in there who majored in being idiots when they were, and they just missed the whole point of athletics. Athletics is for education, recreation, nothing else. And winning is important only in that you learn more. And to keep winning and buying athletes is a lot of bunk. One thing we should do away with is the whole scholarship system. Now, I'd say that, and I would never got to college if I didn't have a grant of some kind, because I had no money at all. But they're out buying athletes. Not only are they giving grant and aids a lot of these places, they're giving money under the table and everything else to get these guys. That's what was so great about Penn State winning the sprint medley at the Penn Relays this year. They beat all the bandits. I won't mention the school.
We know them.
Well, you know who they were. I mean, they're cheating like hell with the guys they had. And they got beat by guys that, normal students, they wouldn't have got in here if they hadn't. 2 of them were from Altoona yet. Yeah, that's terrible. No, it was great. The two sprinters.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, that was a hell of a run. You know, and I was surprised at first, and then the more I thought about it, the less surprised I was. I mean, that was a hell of a combination they had.
Were great. The first 2 legs, the 400 leg, he's a second in the world as a freshman in the 800. The 800 kid was a miler out of Australia who just happened to show up at Penn State. The reason he went to Penn State, by the way, is that his best friend went to high school down near Harrisburg and talked him into coming to Penn State. So he went home during this fall or spring to run in the pre-Olympic trials in Australia. They let him go. And Beth really did some smart things. She gave him a 2-week kind of easy time, didn't run him in meets and stuff, which helped the hell out of him. Because it was 42 hours from here to Australia.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
How did he do down there?
He got 4th in it. It didn't put him on the team, but it put him in the next round. He's going to stay at Penn State, he told me, to do his training. And I think mainly because he's got a girlfriend around. You know what? You don't have to ask the guy, just check how hard he's breathing. I worked with these guys too many years. I got to tell you, for what happened at the Penn Relay 20K this year, we took the group down. It's called the Nittany Spike Shoe, which is Alumni, by the way. And they won it. Everybody in there was over 35. And they won the damn thing. And the one kid's wife, Bradwich's wife, was hurt. She couldn't run. She's the most beautiful girl I ever knew in my life. So the hell with the race. I had coffee with her while they raced. And one kid brought his girlfriend. She wasn't half bad either. So I came out there, you know, I'm smiling from elbow to elbow, and I didn't even have anything to do with the race.
I took the shortcut.
Anybody else have any questions?
Thank God, no.
We'll keep him out of the frying pan for now. We'll get him later tonight.
This is going to end up, I'm going to end up in jail. They got a picture of me down at the post office anyway, when it's dead or alive.
No, it's just